My gastroenterologist used to tell me, if it feels good, pass it. That's probably not the advice I would give to Congress. So, Republicans passed a bill in the House to repeal Obamacare and replace it with something called the Affordable Care Act. It's not law yet. It still has to get through the Senate. But the least you need to know about this is that it probably won't get through the Senate. See, the thing is that when you legislate something really complicated like healthcare, there's a lot of math that goes into it. Sometimes you have what you think is a great idea, then you run the numbers, and it turns out it just doesn't do what you thought it did. It seems like Republicans kind of just wanted to pass a bill to pass a bill. They said, well, we said we were going to pass a bill, so we better just pass a bill and just see where fate takes it. They didn't wait for scoring or anything like that. Now, Democrats dislike the new bill because they claim that it'll make health insurance more expensive for all sorts of people. I'm not going to belabor those arguments. I'm sure you've heard them. The more important argument to watch, the argument that's probably going to get debated left and right, is that Republicans like it because they say, well, this will make insurance cheaper for people who are healthy. The people who are healthy should have to pay less, and I think that's going to be the core argument that kind of grabs people's attention. This idea that whether or not one group should have to pay more for healthcare than another group. Now, the problem with everybody having an argument about who should or shouldn't pay more for health insurance and healthcare is that there's not a lot of discussion about what the cost should be, how much it actually should cost to pay for healthcare. So I want to touch on one of those elements of the cost of healthcare, which is drug prices, and specifically how patents may affect drug prices. It's a very old idea, but the basic concept is this argument that if you increase the length of a patent, drugs would be cheaper. So let's break that down. See, after a company invents a drug, they have 20 years to do two things. First, they have to get it past the FDA. Then, after they get it past the FDA, they have to make as much money as they can within that 20-year period. People who want to extend patent length argue that, well, the reason drug prices are high is because they have to make all this money to recoup all the money that went into making the drug, all the money that went into research, all the money for the trials, so forth. Basically, they just wouldn't have an incentive to keep prices high if the patents were longer. The counter argument goes, well, drug makers are going to charge whatever they can because they can. You know, it's in cases where patents have been lengthened to through some sort of legal loophole. There's only one really big one we can look at. Prices didn't go down. The main case we know about is for a drug called Enbrel, which is a drug made in the United States. It is to treat rheumatoid arthritis, and it had a for a legal quirk, its patent length was extended by 15 years. Now, the thing that happened is that the prices of Enbrel did not go down. They actually went up. Now, it's hard to verify that they actually went up and by how much they went up. They probably went up, but we don't know for sure just because there's so many middlemen involved in getting the drug to the patient. You know, if you have, say, MetLife and you get your drugs at CVS, you might pay more or less than somebody who has Blue Cross Blue Shield and gets their drugs through some other pharmacy, their grocery store pharmacy, because all of these groups, you know, the health insurance companies, the pharmacies, the people who distribute to the pharmacies, they all have different deals with each other to buy and sell these drugs. It's not like there's a set price. But generally, it seems like it's gone up. And now, that's just one case, so we can't look at that one case and say, oh, well, it doesn't make sense to increase patent length because of this one incident. So we have to kind of think about it from a sort of thought experiment perspective to really get a good idea. And so, okay. So a drug patent is a legal monopoly to be the only business selling something that everyone needs. So, in order to test our question about the length of patents, we have to ask ourselves, okay, if I have the legal right to sell something that everyone wants and nobody else can sell it, what am I going to charge? And I think the answer, at least the answer for me, is I would charge as much as the market would take. I would charge as much as I can because I want to make as much money as possible. That was the whole point of my getting into business, right? The only reason I wouldn't charge more is if there was some sort of complication that meant that I could make more money despite having a lower cost. And I think there's an argument that patent length is one of the things that can affect that. So let's say patent length was variable. It has different, for each drug, there's a different patent length. There's no rule that says that we have to make sure all patents are the same length. As long as we have a good reason for having one drug have a longer patent than another drug, well, then we have a good reason. So let's say that there was a system where a company that decided to keep its drug price super low, that they were just going to get a small amount of money from each sale, that because they were charging so little, we were just going to say, you know what, if you're going to keep your prices low, we're just going to let you have your patent forever, because there's no evidence that by opening up this patent and taking away your patent that the price of the drug would actually get cheaper for anybody. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you have companies that say, well, I need to make a lot of money right now for whatever reason. You know, maybe I'm in debt, or for some reason I gotta make the money now, so I'm actually going to have to charge a higher rate for this drug. And then we say, okay, well, that's fine, you can do that, but you're going to have a shorter patent length. We're not going to let you keep your patent forever, because eventually it's going to be much cheaper for patients if we take away that patent from you. Now, this raises a difficult question, which is, how do we decide what a fair price is for a drug? I'm going to leave you with that interesting question, and I'm going to leave you with the more general question about patents. Should they be 20 years long? Should they be shorter? Should they be longer? Or should they be different depending on the situation? There's all sorts of good arguments for all of these. That's pretty much it for today. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great night.